perception can be a dream. Yeah.
This can be a dream.
Yeah.
So receiving true pointings in a dream.
True pointings. Pointings are just pointing. Truth is what is being pointed to.
It's still happening in a possible dream.
Yes, of course. Of course, my dear. What is our notion of a dream versus the waking state? We readily admit that a dream is just a projection of quote unquote my consciousness, and that was the dream state. Everything was happening within my consciousness. People in the world may call it my mind also. Just in my mind, everything happened in my mind. And then we are also seeing that we could be having this conversation in a dream. We looked at that. So what we are saying is there's really no way to tell what is the waking state or the dream state. And then is it just a question of then some convenience or maybe some arrogance to say, no, this has to be the waking state because I'm presently here. Isn't it just like saying everything was invented in India, everything is, because we can make that claim, so let's make it that this is the waking state. But can we really say that this is the waking state? Can't say. So, but it doesn't matter what state or in which conditions and events and circumstances that which is being pointed at, which is beyond all of these states. If you received Brahma Gyan in a dream, you still received it. Easy. So it doesn't matter what state this is, and if you can really call it any different from a dream state, as long as you're being pointed to that which is beyond all states. Because that is a
waking state.
Huh?
Is there really a waking state? What if everything is a dream state?
Like really means? What is really anything? Like we may even say reality, the self, the absolute reality, the reality. But what is reality? Can we say, okay, the unchanging? But who defines that as reality? We do. This is the play of consciousness. The consciousness can choose to give reality to anything. Now you may say, like if you follow Vedantic motion, you will say, all this is Maya. You see? So they reversed it. Whereas everyone in the world says seeing is believing, in Vedanta you say that everything that you see is not true. Isn't that a huge sea change? So anybody who can come close to calling themselves a Vedantin has to first admit to Vedanta 101, which is this. Then you have to admit that none of this is real. You see? But I am not a Vedantin. I may use a lot of Vedanta pointers because I don't have to admit to their notion of reality. I don't have to admit to any notion of reality. I may use it to point. So a plant or an animal doesn't have to determine what is real, what is unreal. Does that mean that they're lost? And this is the crunch thing. That as you're open and empty, in an infantile sort of mode, no? Ram didn't talk about infant, so we can say. So in the infantile sort of mode, maybe he did, I'm not sure. So then, is it only perceptions that are apparent to you? Are they only perceptions? Or do you recognize something which is beyond that also? See? And if we were to take a new notion of reality, which is a summation of everything that is clear to us, then how come in the worldly notion we take only this part, the manifest part? Should I rewind? I feel like this is an important point, right? As you are open and empty, in pure perception of the world, do you recognize that something is here which is beyond perception? And I use the word here loosely. Beyond perception?
Yeah.
It's apparent to everyone. You see? So, what value have we given to that aspect versus the value that we have given to this aspect? And why this stepmotherly treatment then? You see? Why this stepmotherly treatment then? If your reality is the summation of everything that is your direct experience, you see, then why not include that, the pure witnessing which is beyond perception also? Because it is impossible to have a story after that. How will you include it? It's impossible to objectify yourself in time and space after that. But is this truth lost on you? And is this some special education that Ananta has received that is sharing all of this? Or is he just speaking from what is obviously apparent? Unclouded by the mental hypnosis, all this is just naturally unfolding. So the point of the master is not to convince you about the reality or unreality of the world. It is just to bring you to the true source where insight is available. Then you can draw the same. Like you will find every sage is saying the same thing, just in different ways to express and different ways to checkmate the head. That's all that's happening, isn't it? No sage is saying you must believe my perspective about this. No Ashtavakra ever said, no, you must believe that you are the boundless ocean in which the universes come and go. He didn't talk about belief. He's saying, I'm showing you. He's showing you. He's pointing you to where you already know that. That is the job of any master. Point you where you already know that. Not to produce new knowledge. Now from there, what is reality? Even the Vedantic thought experiment then is deconstructed. It's a very worthwhile experiment because we had this, like I said, stepmotherly treatment to the manifest aspect and not at all given any focus to the unmanifest aspect. So that is a very useful thought experiment which tells you, no, now you take all that is manifest to be unreal. See? And imagine the confidence of those sages to be able to say that. Take all of this to be unreal. Because you know there is supreme intelligence running all of this, nothing will go wrong if you do. And the world people start to think, oh, everything will fall apart without my belief in this. So they have said authoritatively, it is unreal. They have never defined what do we mean by real and unreal. You say, okay, what is real? Oh, that which witnesses. What is real? That which doesn't change. Who defined all this is real? We did. There's no, like God did not say, oh, this is real and this is unreal. It is like people are coming to Satsang and they are finding a way to point to them. So, okay, I'm going to tell you all of this is unreal, what else you got? Only that I'm interested in listening to. Of course, they didn't have such an easy time of it because then they went on to describe 100 other things which all belong to the realm of that which they themselves call unreal. Because people would have pestered them with questions saying, but what about this? But how about this? So there's like so many paths, so many. Take a Zen koan, any Zen koan, solve it. Follow this Vedantic experiment. All that you perceive is unreal, it's changing, find the unchanging. Just take anything. There are so many ways. Every day you come to Satsang, you find a way to discover yourself. What is the only thing that gets in the way? I want me also and I want God also. I want me also, God for me. Me. And God is not with any value unless it is for me. There's some song also like that, no? Some Punjabi song or something like that. Like he's just lamenting, what kind of God are you? You don't even take care of me. And God said we have a deal, no? That the truth should take care of the false. That's all kind of, this kind of thing. This is like, oh, you have the capacity to judge God. Like you can say, oh, you, Khuda, you don't know what you're doing. I'll tell you. I was using that as an illustration, but I'm saying this is in a way, a pointer of the human condition. And we see this everywhere. Whenever there's talk about God, there's talk about how God is helping me. And who's the me? We never find. We never find. How did we get here? What was the original question?
Are there only dream states?
See, these are very broad things. Like when we say are there, what is are there? Like what is? I am, but what is this am? So we don't realize, like the intellect, this is the human condition. We can ask the broad questions, but we realize the magnitude of what we are asking. Because we want like a conceptual, yes, they are only dreams. But what is R? There are only. The existence of, what are we saying? The possibility of, the potential of, the existence of, the being of, the experience of, what do we mean? So much, no?
Whenever you're saying an object is,
yes,
you're referring to a thought that's created.
Like an object is, what is? Is it this is a phone? Implying an isness, an existence of something now. Is that real? Is it unreal? If you listen to the Vedantins, right, then it's completely unreal because it's perceived. You see, if you listen to the world, then seeing is believing. Of course, there's a phone. So maybe it's worthwhile to ask, what would it mean to say exist? Like what is existence itself? You see? And then even more worthwhile to ask, in what way do I have the capacity to know any of these answers? Where in me can I hold an answer to this question? Can my head hold what is, what am is, what are is, what value is, what truth is, what meaning is, what love is, what peace is, what joy is, what God is, what Brahman is? Where can we hold these answers? So take any one question and dive deeply into it if you have to. If you have to. Don't use any word just like what is true. Like many times what is true? What is true? What true is what? And whose word can I take for truth? And then we spend our whole life defending our truth. No, this is true. No, this is true. No, this is true. But what do we mean by true? Isn't it just a charade for a perspective in the garb of truth? Aren't we just saying my perspective is this and saying no, this is true and trying to say? So the Greeks used to say, I said this before, the Greeks used to say, whoever won the argument, that is the truth. You see? So in those days, then the lawyers were the highest paid in Greece. You see, and that was the most, because the lawyers were taught how to argue and how to win. You see? There was no. Then another sect of philosophers came. They said, no, you can't say it now. It all depends on how things turn out to be. So I say tomorrow, I feel like it's going to be a very good day. I can't say whether it's a truth or a lie, but based on how tomorrow turns out, then it'll tell us. It's also sweet in a way. You see, don't be so attached to your notion of truth right now. Life will show you. So there are many explorations that have happened about these things like truth, knowledge, being. We've got in a way, in the human condition, obsessed with the smallest aspect of knowledge, which is the what should I do, how should I live, that ethics part of it. You meet so many people in the world, they say, but I am so truthful, I can only tell the truth. But what is truth? From what perspective? We can take any question from the invitation, or any question from any question that the mind can't answer. Really, just dive deeply into that. Guruji said, were you born? Is it born? Can it go? Anything like that. Any one question from the invitation you can take and really ask yourself, like, do you really know? It's easy to say no. And it's really easy actually. But can we really say it from the heart? Are we just visualizing some dark empty space and looking at that space and, oh, does this space go?
This question that how do you know it's you? Like, because of the Vedanta and the dreams, deep sleep state, there isn't like any perception, but yet you know it's you. And then like when you keep, you saw it, how do you know it's you?
Yes.
And I mean that some of that question always made me grab me always. So how do I know this?
One.
How do I know it's me,
Yes.
not somebody else?
Exactly.
And that, so then it just went on, like, now, like, I see it, like, it just, he's like, it's even empty of, I mean, not even a perception, but it just feels like it's falling back on itself in a way, Like it becomes so not
So
external.
use that question fully.
Yeah.
Fully. Like, okay, so who's aware of the perception of this I am? I am.
Yeah.
How do you know this I? You're calling it I.
Yeah.
I. That's the central thing in your life.
Yeah.
It's I. You're calling it that.
Yeah.
You see, you better not be mistaken about it. You see, so what is the basis for this? You see? So don't worry about the mechanics, what else is happening, just I. Is it really I? How do I know? How do I know? Because you're calling it I. I am aware. Who is that of? It's worth finding out, no? Everything else, you want it to belong to you. This is you. Before you can be clear about who that you is, how can you decide on what should belong to you?
So is it wrong if
Now,
I begin with
one
some-
second. So now, what tool is not at your disposal? See? Am I like? Would you put this one in the category of a teacher who has given the question but not showed you how to? You can say it if you have, because I'll reinforce that aspect of it. But the question is available, the method is available, everything is available. Now self-discovery is really available to us. So, unlike a Zen master who's like confused you in your head and not giving you a way out, I've confused you enough, but I've also given you the method out of the confusion. It's not possible to feel anything more than that, because then otherwise it'll just be my discovery that all of you are just taking as your own. Now it's yours. It's yours directly. And all but is but me. But what about me? But what about me? Not in those words, but so the tools are clear, the method is clear, the how to check if the outcome is clear, what trips you up, what the tricks the mind will play is clear. Everything is all clear. Now it's only a question of like Guruji has this example of this. That one day what happened is we were all sitting with him and he threw a grape towards Nataraj. And then Nataraj is like, it was here. He said, no, you have to throw it. Then Guruji said, no, this much you have to do. Just move your head from here to here and accept the grape. It's all laid out for you, everything. You just have to, in your heart, just follow. There is zero reason that you are not the next Buddha. There is zero reason. There is nothing that is blocking you. What will the doubt say? It will say, but me, but what about my life in this, and what about my life in that? I've shown you that God is running it. The Supreme Intelligence, which is running your heart, is running your life also. Nothing to fear. All the outward play will go on the way it is meant to go on. There is no reason that the intelligence can move the stars and the sun. It cannot run this tiny life. And if you are stopping the birth of the Buddha, because of some tiny, but what about this stuff, which is just ephemeral. I say Rama's dispassion comes in. So what? Middle age now, old age is coming, body is going to start to wither, all of this is getting over. What's going to be? What's the point of any of this? If it's just going to be about material stuff, or even experience chasing. What is the point of any of that? All gone. What is that Kabirji's thing that all the players and the pieces all go back to the same what is it? Bag, no? All gone. This whole game is going to dissolve anytime soon. I can't see it. Finish. Did you spend all our time here on that which is going to go like this? And I have strong sense to tell you that tactic of I'm going to remember the Lord in my last moment and then find freedom because of that is not going to work. You're going to remember that which you're most attached to in your last moment. Don't waste your life without the discovery of that light which is unperceivable. That is the light which gives light to God itself. And that discovery is yours for the taking. How blessed are we that that discovery is ours for the taking. That which seems like an impossibility, it seems absurd, is available. In the light of that unperceivable light, the light of God, the light of presence, the light of consciousness is born. Don't miss God's presence for some trivial thing. And without your mental exercising, even in the perception of the world, there is no harm done. You can perceive this world, your attention can be anywhere, it doesn't matter. You're not missing the presence of God. In every light you will see only His light. Unless you become selfish, unless you want something for yourself, for me, which doesn't exist. So stop catering to the non-existent one and enjoy the presence of the only one. Don't waste your time, don't waste your life. You don't have to juggle anything. That intelligence which is beating your heart is making your life run. There's nothing to fear. Remember, the lane is narrow. If there is God, there is no me. If there is me, there is no God. So if we have some fanciful idea of God in me, why doesn't God do this for me? Why is God like this to me? Somebody can find this verse from Rahim. I feel like it's Rahim ji. Gali hai sakri. Right now, send it to me.
Do not smile.
It's very beautiful. In fact, it's the entire Satsang. Just that much is enough. The lane is narrow. If there is room for God, there is no room for me. If there is room for me, there is no room for God. whose presence is in your heart. Is that some little old me sitting there saying, I am? How blessed are we that we can find God in this way? Yeah, otherwise it only sounds poetic and you cannot find it through this, you cannot find it through that. Moko kahan dhoonde re bande, where are you looking for me? I am not in this, I am not in that, I am not here, I am not there. It sounds very beautiful and poetic, but this is your direct experience. How can we value anything over this? The holy divinity, the presence of the Lord in our hearts. So all you have to do is let go. All you have to do is let go. Inwardly, fully let go. Outwardly, whatever movement life animates, the life force animates, it's perfect. Don't judge, don't explain, don't complain. Let go. It's the only difference between heaven and hell. Heaven is let go. Hell is holding on. That's all. It's not about your life, it's not about the events in it. You see, it's not about the people, it's not about anything else. You are unshakable. You are the vastness itself. The space in which this space is born. Nothing can shake even this. The last thing I'm going to say, maybe I've never said this before. Ask me something which is going to last you lifetimes. Don't ask me for something that you want for this just one measly lifetime. Either it's going to be at the end of all lifetimes, or it's going to last two lifetimes. That's the true use of a master. Then you can't ask me other things, but we can talk about this, but really give value, priority to those.